E oku rauranga tira mā. Kia ora, my name is Bayleigh Wakelin. I descend from the great lineage embedded in the heart of Ngāpuhi, a voice to be heard, a leader to be recognised, much like my ancestors before me. I am but one of many voices, yearning for freedom, seeking audiences to hear my plight, destined to one day make an impact for our rights as Māori, a voice that will not stand by or be taken for granted, nor can it be silenced. And why should it? Why should I allow the suppression of my voice? The grandmother of Dame Nada Glavish once said, if you see a problem, fix it. If you fail to do so, you become a part of that problem. I promise that if I see a problem upon our lands, I will not hesitate to become a part of the solution. I will let my native tongue fly free as if it was a beautiful bellbird reaching the highest peaks, just as Dame Nada Glavish once did when she famously became the Kilda lady. Feeling the pressure of racism while living in a town in Pukekohe, Dame Nada still spoke our beautiful native language. She proudly answered the phone with kia ora, tauti, causing controversy with her superiors, who threatened to fire her if she continued to answer the phone in Te Reo Māori. Standing by her principles, she was prepared to lose her employment. Weighed down by the struggle she was facing, out of nowhere, she heard a voice. This is bigger than you. At first, she thought it was the winds of Tāwhiri Mātia, but again, the voice chimed. This is bigger than you. She then realised there was her ancestor, her grandmother, beckoning her from beyond the veil, guiding her to rise up and stand strong against the discrimination she was facing. She then knew that she could not allow silence to give her voice, and that she had a responsibility to uphold the essence and integrity of her language. Being quiet was not an option for her. After all, her ancestors would not let her. Another great example is Dame Whenā Kupa, who in 1975, at the age of 79, walked all the way from Hokianga to Parliament, leading with her grandchild in hand. The further she travelled, the more that joined her. Over 5,000 people marched alongside her, and 60,000 people signed to support her passionate cause. She became a heroine, and is still seen today as one of the most influential Māori women of all time. She too could not be quiet, because her ancestors would not let her. Two iconic strong women who I someday hope to become. I too will pick up the tools that ancestors left behind, and I too will heed the whispers of wisdoms that blows on the winds. I will continue what they started, because if I don't, if we don't, whose time would be wasted? What would all their hard work be for? History has shown us what happens when we remain quiet. My great-grandfather had been whipped for speaking his native tongue. He was forced to learn a different language and to silence his own. For that fate, he feared handing on a language that caused him so much pain, not wanting his children to experience the same. 2 generations deprived of their rights to speak Te Reo Māori. The uprising of Māori, full immersion, early childhood centres, and the early 1980s began to change that. My grandmother, whose native tongue was starved of existence, has served Te Kohanga Reo for almost 25 years and is still doing so today. Through her service, she's reclaimed her language, and it's a model of what it means to stand for something bigger other than herself. She became a part of the solution. My mother, a beautiful, kind-hearted, intelligent woman who has pushed me to my highest peaks, who has encouraged me to put a voice to my cause. A key role model of mine was educated in bilingual units, found a passion for Māori language and knowledge, relearning alongside me. She understood that to stop history from repeating itself, she would need to become a part of the solution. Today, she is a teacher in a full immersion classroom, teaching the next generation their native tongue, becoming their role model, shaping the next generation vision of our future. She became a part of the solution. I have had the privilege to be educated in school where students of my culture expand their knowledge and language skills whilst immersed in the Māori language. I have tried to be quiet. However, I feared that I would be another generation deprived of my right to speak Te Reo Māori. But my ancestors would not let another generation fall at the hands of our colonisers. Thankfully, I do know my native tongue, and I get every chance to speak it. I choose when, I choose how, and I choose where. And I am grateful for those before me who refuse to be silenced. They have shown me the importance of standing up and speaking out. They have shown me the depths of how powerful we can be if we refuse to remain silent. They have shown me just how much you can be a part of this change and this ever-changing world. And that no longer are we just bystanders, accepting what is being done to us, but now deciding what is being done by us. Ladies and gentlemen, take into consideration of what I've said, bearing in mind that my message is more than just a speech. It is me walking the pathway my ancestors prepared for me, proudly as a young Māori girl from Ngāpuhi, with more than just a dream, but a vision for our future. I could try to be quiet, but I guarantee you that my ancestors won't let me. Thank you.